can Steve collapse into a black hole? You've probably seen the calculations that people have done on how strong Steve is by finding how much mass he can carry. Usually they end up in the range of several million tons, and while this is certainly extremely impressive, is it really the best we can do? When an object becomes sufficiently dense, it collapses inward due to its own gravity and becomes a black hole. Assuming that Steve's inventory is stored in SignTem, which raises some other questions that we will not be getting into, if Steve's inventory reaches this density, he will collapse into a black hole. So in order to answer the question of whether Steve can collapse into a black hole, we must first calculate how much mass Steve will need to have in his inventory for this to happen. According to Wikipedia, if a neutron star has a mass exceeding about 2 solar masses, it will collapse to form a black hole. The most massive neutron star known has a mass of 2.35 solar masses. For the purpose of this video, we will assume that anything more dense than this will become a black hole. Neutron stars have a radius of approximately 10 kilometers or 10,000 meters. If we approximate the shape of a neutron star as a perfect sphere, we find that it has a volume of 4/3 pi times 10,000 meters cubed, which works out to 4.18 trillion cubic meters. Since one solar mass is 1.98 million kilograms, we find that our maximum density is 473 quadrillion kilograms per cubic meter. We'll assume that Steve's volume is about 1 cubic meter, so our critical mass is 473 quadrillion kilograms. This probably isn't the most rigorous calculation, but for our purposes it'll do. It also probably doesn't matter in the end if we're off by a few orders of magnitude. Now let's begin the calculation for how heavy Steve's inventory can be. The densest material in normal Minecraft is a block of gold, which is 1 cubic meter. Gold has a density of 19,300 kilograms per cubic meter, which means that each block is 19,300 kilograms. However, prior to version 1.9, notch apples can be crafted with 8 blocks of gold and 1 apple. We will assume that the mass of the apple is negligible, so each notch apple is 154,400 kilograms. You can hold 64 notch apples in 1 inventory slot, and you have 36 inventory slots, which gives a total mass of 365 million kilograms. And we can improve this slightly by wearing full golden armor, but it's only a marginal improvement. This is a far cry from reaching the critical mass of 473 quadrillion kilograms that we previously stated. However, we can do better than this. Shulker boxes allow you to massively expand your inventory space by allowing you to carry around items with you. Unfortunately, shulker boxes are only introduced in version 1.11, which was after the crafting recipe for notch apples was removed. This means that blocks of gold are once again the densest material. Since we're playing on a later version, we also have an extra slot in the offhand. Since each shulker box has 27 slots, we get a final density of 19,300 kilograms per block of gold, times 64 blocks of gold per shulker box slot, times 27 shulker box slots per shulker box, times 37 shulker boxes per inventory, which gives a final result of 1.23 billion kilograms. Except that blocks of gold aren't the densest material because each netherite requires 4 gold, and if we were to use netherite blocks instead, we would approximately quadruple our mass, and end with just under 5 billion kilograms. This is far more impressive than our previous figure of 365 million kilograms, but it's still not close to the 473 quadrillion kilogram critical mass. You can do a bit better than this by adding more shulker boxes to the crafting slots and wearing netherite armor, but again, the improvement is marginal. Also, there's something to be said about whether the crafting slots are technically inside Steve's inventory, as I've always imagined him putting those items on the ground in order to craft them. And this is where our quest to collapse Steve into a black hole ends, or does it? Here we can leave the realm of normal Minecraft and enter the world of modded Minecraft. Modded Minecraft adds a large amount of items to the game. However, most of these are not relevant for our calculation. In order to calculate the total mass that Steve can hold, we have to set some ground rules. Number 1. The mass of an item is equivalent to its crafting components. This means that items such as the Avaricious Endless Pearl and the Extended Crafting Singularities do not count as black holes for our purposes. Number 2. Items that hold infinite material are not allowed, like the Cooking for Blockhead Sink, which holds infinite water, and the Creative ME Storage Cell. Number 3. If an item has more than one crafting recipe, such as the AE2 Singularity, it is considered to be the mass of the lightest crafting recipe. With these rules out of the way, we can begin calculating Steve's final mass. For our purposes, we will be playing on the Enigmatica 2 Expert mod pack, but a similar calculation can be obviously performed with any other pack. One of the densest items in modded Minecraft is neutronium. According to the tooltip, each neutronium nugget is 35.6 million metric tons or 35.6 billion kilograms. These can be further compacted into ingots and then blocks for 81 times storage increase. This gives a mass of 35.6 billion kilograms per neutronium nugget times 81 nuggets per block, times 64 blocks per slot, times 27 slots per shulker box, times 37 shulker boxes per inventory, which results in a final mass of 184 quadrillion kilograms. We're getting pretty close to our critical mass. Cyclic has an inventory upgrade that doubles your inventory space, meaning you have 73 inventory slots instead. If we were to put more shulker boxes into each of these slots, we'd have a final mass of 363 quadrillion kilograms. We can increase the mass of each slot significantly by using infinity blocks instead of neutronium blocks. Each infinity ingot requires 24 neutronium ingots and 10 infinity catalysts, each of which need 1 neutronium ingot, a cosmic meatball, and an ultimate stew, which requires another cosmic meatball, both of which require 3 neutronium ingots, for a total of 7 neutronium ingots per catalyst. This results in a total of 94 neutronium ingots per infinity ingot. Infinity ingots can be further compressed into infinity blocks. Using infinity blocks, we reach a mass of 35.6 billion kilograms per neutronium nugget times 9 neutronium nuggets per neutronium ingot times 94 neutronium ingots per infinity ingot times 9 infinity ingots per infinity block times 64 blocks per slot times 27 slots per shulker box times 73 shulker boxes per inventory, which results in a final mass of 34.1 quintillion kilograms, meaning that we've blown past our critical mass and found that Steve can indeed collapse into a black hole. But we can still do much, much better than this. From now on, to save time, I won't be showing the steps of the calculations. A side note, if you're familiar with Avariccia, you may be wondering about the rest of the singularities, which contain hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of items. However, a quick calculation shows that these singularities are still multiple orders of magnitude less massive than neutronium. The densest naturally occurring element is osmium, at 22,590 kilograms per cubic meter. As one block is 1 cubic meter, each ingot should be 1/9 of this mass. It takes 10,000 ingots to form a singularity, and we will assume that every other type of ingot used in a singularity is less dense than osmium. This means that the density of a theoretical osmium singularity is 25.1 million kilograms, which is still over 1,000 times less dense than a neutronium nugget, let alone an ingot. This means that the mass of the singularities is, ironically, negligible. Immersive engineering wooden storage crates are a lot like shulker boxes. In fact, they're exactly like shulker boxes, except for one crucial thing. If they have the same items inside, they will stack. You can also place them inside shulker boxes. This means our calculation is up to 59.16 tillion kilograms. An ME system is like a chest, except that its storage is determined by drives, which hold a number of items based on the type of the drive. The largest storage drive is an ME 16,384K drive, meaning it holds 16,384,000 items. By placing ME 16,384K storage drives inside wooden storage crates, we have a final mass of 15.1 octillion kilograms. Industrial foregoing black hole units can store a massive amount of one type of item, the 32-bit integer limit to be exact, or 2,147,483,648 items. By filling these with infinity blocks and placing them in ME storage drives, we get a mass of 32.5 undecillion kilograms, which is more massive than the largest known stars by multiple orders of magnitude. We can then use ender pouches to further increase our storage capability. Each ender pouch has 54 slots, and we can configure all of them to different channels so that they all hold unique item slots. This further increases our carrying capacity by 54 times, resulting in a mass of 1.75 duodecillion kilograms. However, we can still do much better than this. Infinitely better, in fact. Up until now, we've never nested the same storage item multiple times. This is because most storage items don't tend to store themselves. That is, shulker boxes don't store shulker boxes, for example. However, you can actually infinitely nest wooden crates in ME storage cells. As the wooden crates have a non-zero mass, we don't even need to be using any neutronium or infinity blocks at all. Just by nesting storage crates in ME storage cells, Steve's inventory can become arbitrarily massive. So not only can Steve become a black hole, he can become one that never fully decays due to Hawking radiation. Indeed, Steve is the universal constant, transcending time and space. If you are ever lost, just look inward. You will find Steve.